Hi everyone, welcome to TGIF, another Friday, another episode. Leveraging large language models are new, of course, and as we've witnessed, generative AI with human-aligned conversations are more real than ever before. With each passing day we're learning to understand how best to use LLMs in applications. I thought it's best to speak to a specialist or expert who can guide us on the way forward. It's my pleasure to welcome Surit Palsule, Senior Product Manager, Microsoft AI, for a short conversation. Surit, welcome to TGIF.
Hey Sandeep, good morning. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. Surit, quickly, you've been at the helm of witnessing all of the innovation in the last, I would say, 12 to 18 months. And of course, with each passing day, we get to hear a new announcement. What fascinates you the most?
Yeah, certainly. So 12 months for sure, but the last 6 months have been, the most exciting. And I think there are two things that really stand out. First is the pace of change, the sheer pace of change that we've seen in the last 6 months, be it OpenAI shipping new models like GPT-4 32K, or adding model versioning support, or retiring legacy models to continuously streamline their product offering. That's one. To Azure OpenAI, following through with rapid changes to our service offerings, from fast and automated approval of new customer access requests. We've seen thousands of new customers since the start of this year, to deploying new data center regions, which is a huge task, considering the massive infrastructure and capital investment, to making flagship models like 3.5 and GPT-4 generally available, to adding support for Java and JS SDKs in addition to Python, which already was there. Something I'm most proud of is being an industry leader in the space of RAI, which is responsible AI. And adding, intuitive self-serve tools such as the new content filtering dashboard, and which lets customers define what type of content they want to allow in their implementation. And it's super easy to use, right? So the pace of change has been tremendous to see. Second is really industry adoption. And again, this is like nothing before. The GA of OpenAI was at the very end of last year. And yet we've seen customers getting really, really good at learning and optimizing this new technology. It's only 6 months old. We've seen a blossoming of variety of different applications and use cases across verticals and types of industries. And it's been really amazing to see.
Wonderful. So you made an interesting point. I think in the last 6 months, right, while we started with basics of how do you use LLMs, customers have kind of leapfrogged in the last 6 months to build something really meaningful, right? So quickly, now a lot of our customers, right, they're at the inception stage, right? Of course, there are digital natives who are probably ahead of the curve in terms of their adoption, but majority are at the inception stage. So your guidance in terms of how should they approach leveraging LLMs in the larger development life cycle? Any guidance from you would help.
Yeah, that's a great question, Sandeep, and it's really an important one. I think I'd like to answer this with describing the three main phases of adoption of LLMs in any organization. And let me also talk at each stage of common traps that we've seen sometimes teams can fall into. So let me start with the first phase, which is just basically learning and building an understanding of this very new technology, right? And so it helps to learn about the service and the capabilities of these new large language models, reading about case studies, brainstorming use cases internally within your organization, and really discussing, with your partners at Microsoft. Come, have a word with us and learn about how this technology works. That's really important and foundational to your, the beginning of your journey. What we've seen is that sometimes customers have a perception, this is a trap I want to refer to in this stage, which is that sometimes customer teams can think of OpenAI as a silver bullet, which is like this magic API where you can just throw a bunch of problems and then a solution will pop out. It's more helpful to think of the broader architecture that the OpenAI API will be plugged into, and there will be parts that are legacy now which will need to be replaced. There are parts in your system where new components will need to be added. So having a holistic approach is a better way to think about when you're getting into this journey. So that's number one, which is just learning and building a strong foundation grounded in facts. So that's number one, learning. Second would be, I'd say, iterative development. And again, now let me start with a trap here, which is that prompt engineering has really changed the way people, think of LLMs, right? Because it's now so easy to interact with them using natural language. But sometimes this can be a bit misleading, or also it seems a little simplistic or simpler than what it is, which by which I mean that for a large and complex solution, which is what most enterprises are probably going to be building, it helps to and they often need multiple prompts, right? And they need multiple prompts for various different tasks, and the refining and the optimizing of these prompts can make a huge difference in the output quality as well as performance and cost, right? So it's well worth the time investment to get good at learning prompt engineering and giving it the due time it needs, right? So in this second phase of iterative development, I'll say teams should really focus on defining the scope of their use cases. They should test their hypotheses. They can do this in AI Studio, which is a very easy and useful tool, and basically give the dev phase the time it deserves, right? So iterative development would be number two. And just to close out on the third, I would say after they have a working prototype and they see that they're able to get excellent results from Azure OpenAI, they should then build for scale and stability. And by that I mean optimizing for production scale by defining your say regional deployment strategy. We are present in multiple regions now. Provisioning adequate capacity based on scale tests that the team can do, and also do something like red teaming exercises, which is a way to try and break your own system and see that it is sort of foolproof and robust, right?
Hey, love this, Surya. In fact, the three traps you mentioned is so meaningful for the simple reason that many times you approach leveraging LLMs like traditional application development, which is unlike how you should do right now, right? So thanks for sharing that. In fact, I love the fact that you brought in the red teaming activity in the end. One last question. Speech services, right? Time and again we've heard this. In fact, I heard 4 years back from a CEO who said, speech is going to be the most desirable interactive mechanism going forward, but we're not seeing that being omnipresent right now yet, right? It's still happening. So your take on, will speech replace bot interaction going forward? Would keyboard be off and it just speak to the machine? Is that the future?
Yeah, we'd love to have that future today, and we're very close to that. But just before I talk about speech, I think it's not just speech, but also other key Azure offerings, like Azure Cognitive Search, Azure Document Intelligence, or our numerous data and storage solutions. They're all being seen in a new light. When it comes to building these modern natural language based solutions, because they are all playing a role very different from what they were traditionally used for. So there's been a renewed interest in these offerings. But like you said, yes, speech really is it feels like its time has come. And speech plus Azure OpenAI is a very, very powerful combination, right? And we see this being explored by many different customers, since what it really offers is the power of allowing complex transactions to be done using natural language, especially voice, right? So, and one such example I'm very happy and proud to share is Make My Trip, which is a partner and one of the largest travel companies here in India and Asia. And so they have built and they've been working with us on Myra Bot, which is now live. And so Myra Bot is MMT team's effort, and they've been in the forefront of this innovation, which is about allowing users to book flight tickets using just voice. And it currently supports both Indian English as well as Hindi, but will grow to support more Indian languages as well. And what this allows is, just to give an example, is something like you can have a complex query like show me flights to Goa next weekend that are say 5,000 rupees or less, right? And there's a lot to unpack in that statement, but the bot does all of this seamlessly and will respond with appropriate options for you. So it's really going to be a game changer, especially for the Bharat market that we talk about, where interacting with user interfaces, etc., is not super easy or preferred. People will now be able to just make transactions using the power of their voice.
This is very profound, Surya. In fact, while you interact with systems, I think considering India, multilingual is given, right? I can speak in any language of my choice, and that's where Azure Cognitive Speech Services comes in handy. So wonderful. I love this, Surya. In fact, if I have to summarize, I think the three key aspects you shared in a conversation today is, number one, GenAI or OpenAI model, they're not the silver bullet, right? There's a lot more plumbing needs to be required before we build solutions. Number two, prompt engineering. Right? That's something which all of us have to make that part of our, I would say, closed loop development systems going forward. Number three, which is scale, right? The aspect which requires most attention as you take it to production is scale, right? Awesome. Surya, thank you so much for your time today. Truly appreciate all the insights you shared with us today.
Really enjoyed this, Sandeep. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. With that, thanks for watching us today. A wonderful Friday. Keep watching TGIF and a great weekend ahead. Bye-bye.